Oh, Dave, you've gone. We've lost you, mate.
Because
Do you want to turn your camera off, Dave? Sorry, we've lost you.
How do I turn my camera off?
If you just touch the screen and there should be
the screen, you'll see a picture of a camera.
You just press that.
No. We can now see your leg, Dave. That could have been way worse.
Oh my God.
That could have been way worse.
I was not expecting to get foot porn here. That was...
Mike, I'd like to apologise on behalf of all of Jersey for what you just saw there. I'm so sorry.
Dave, I thought toes were the worst.
Exactly.
Feet were the worst things in the world.
Mike, is this the first podcast where anyone's ever exposed themselves to you?
I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry. I must apologise.
Anyone with a toe fetish should be immediately put on sex offenders register and probably arrested. So
right.
I do apologise.
You guys made me a promise that this would be a major shit show, and you are delivering.
Yay, guys! We did it,
boys.
We did it! Yay!
The funny thing is, it's never deliberate. It just seems to happen.
No, but that's the best. You can't fake. All you can do is get a bunch of lads on a Zoom together and watch the shit just go apart. That's all you can do.
Well, you're in the right place.
What's up, everyone? I'm Shafi Malik, and you're listening to the Who Dropped the Popcorn podcast. The premise is simple. One of us picks a film that we know the others haven't seen, and we all come together here to discuss it. Joining us tonight is Dave McHugh.
Konnichiwa.
Andy Newlands.
It's just a guy's McGill.
Wrong song. Wrong song.
That's the wrong song, mate.
Yeah, that's the joke, isn't it?
Whoever gets that joke, I'm impressed.
By the way, Mike, that's a Jamiroquai joke, if you didn't notice. And I feel like I have to explain the joke. Sorry.
I actually did recognize it, so we're good.
This is outrageous.
And Kyle Hammond.
What's that coming over the hill? Is it a monster? Is it a monster?
Wow. And tonight we have a very special guest today. He is the host of the Action for Everyone podcast and the Moses of Action Twitter community, all the way from Utah, USA. The man, the myth, the legend, the amazing, the most excellent, Michael Scott.
Oh no, they say he's got to go. Godzilla!
yes, mate. Going.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
How are you today, Mike?
I am doing very well, thank you. I'm very excited to be joining you, lads. I would just so fair warning, I will slowly adopt your slang and your terms over the course of this podcast. So it's just what I do. I absorb language. So we'll start with lads. Very happy to be joining you.
That's good. Yeah.
Keep the accent though. Always keep the accent. It sounds better.
If you don't understand any of us, just say, and we'll try and sort of go put it into Google Translate for you. And
no Cockney rhyming slang.
Especially Kyle. Kyle's from the north. I mean, we barely understand him ourselves. So,
if you've watched Game of Thrones, man, you'll be fine.
So to the viewers, if you're not familiar, but I'm guessing that you are very familiar with Mike. He is podcasting royalty. I'm sort of a bit starstruck, so that's why do excuse the nerves. But so Mike, you host the Action for Everyone podcast. Do you want to tell the viewers about your podcast?
Sure. So Action for Everyone's a weekly podcast. I am joined by the great, the wonderful, the brilliant Vice Victus and some fucking douchebag that directed Liam O'Donnell. I love Liam. I'm joined by Vice and Liam, and every week we kind of talk about the newest, whatever new action movies are out that week, new trailers, news, and it's kind of just designed to be, there's so many horror podcasts out there that talk about horror and stuff, and there just isn't that many that talk about action, particularly like DTV and streaming action. And so we kind of wanted to create something like that. So yeah, we get on, we shoot the shit, we try and highlight some, you know, good movies that maybe people aren't seeing in the action arena, and mostly, you know, spend an hour and a half busting each other's balls. It's a
and it really is it is an amazing podcast. So I'm going to start talking about the podcast, and Mike, hopefully this won't make you feel uncomfortable, because it probably will feel like I'm blowing smoke up your ass. But so I think it was about the end of 2020-ish. I kind of came across the podcast when it was called Adkins Undisputed, and I was thinking, so it's basically, it presented itself as a fan podcast of Scott Adkins. And I thought, well, you know, I like Scott Adkins, so I'll give it a try. And what I didn't prepare for was how fucking good the podcast was, because how it was regarding when it was the previous format was that you would, you know, introduce the film, you would sort of talk about all the credits of the film and all the people sort of that linked to each film. So basically, each episode you go through a title from Scott Adkins' filmography. So you start kind of talk about the credits and so forth. Then you actually talk to the man himself about his experience with the film, and then you bring on what you call your champion, which is basically a guest and both you basically talk about the film. And it you know, there's kind of the episodes last for, you know, around about 2 hours, and it really feels like you're listening to an audio essay of the film. It's like you get into such detail. I remember listening to, and it's not just about the Scott Adkins film, that, you know, you kind of digress, and, you know, you talk about, you know, the genre that it sits in, and the kind of the people that are involved as well. And it sort of feels like a mini film school. I remember listening to you talk to Matt Azery. He came on to talk about Unleashed, and basically, you know, you start talking about Hong Kong films for about, you know, an hour or so. And I was just, one thing is that I thought I kind of had like knowledge on sort of Hong Kong and like martial arts films, like from the 80s and 90s. And I was listening, I was kind of completely blown away. And I was like taking notes because, you know, of the films you were mentioning. And
basically, our Eastern Condors episode was Shafi talking for 2 hours, and I was just kind of nodding on Zoom. Yeah.
I was ripping off Mike though. I was ripping off that episode. So.
Yeah, you ripped it off well though, because that was a great episode, and I had
that's good to hear. So now what's happened is that you've changed the format of the show and the title of the show, called Action for Everyone. And as you said, it's a weekly just sort of catch up on everything that's happening in the action genre. And I love the sort of the mentality of the podcast, because the title's called Action for Everyone, and it sort of opens our eyes onto, you know, what action movies provide for people that, you know, you wouldn't really sort of interact with day to day. So there was one episode where Vice Victus, one of the co-hosts in the show, he was talking about how each Michael Bay film kind of provided like an insight into how he was and his experience with the military and how he felt about America in general. You know, and then you had Stefano Della Quinta, I think, am I pronouncing their name right? They were talking about, because they're a trans person, they were talking about how, you know, Zack Snyder films help them kind of understand their own identity. And so, like, those are two filmmakers, Michael Bay and Zack Snyder, which, if I'm being honest, I haven't really sort of got along with. But hearing that kind of just, you know, provides an insight to kind of a couple of filmographies that, like, I wouldn't sort of think sort of twice about. So, you know, it really, so I have to kind of give you hats off to providing a platform that can do that, really. So,
well, and that was sort of so when I started Adkins Undisputed, I really wanted to try and make it an inclusive space. You know, again, horror, not that horror and action are at odds, but horror is so often championed for being this inclusive space. And action is so often regressive, right? I mean, our heroes are fucking Steven Seagal and Chuck Norris and people like that. But the thing is over the years, for those who don't know me, and we don't get very, I don't get political on the show very often. You guys don't get political, but I am extremely left of center. And so I'm sitting here reconciling, okay, I love these regressive movies, but I am not a regressive person. At least I hope not. And I can't be the only one. And over time, I have met many, many people who are the very same way, because we can all come together in the joy of watching Scott Adkins kick somebody in the face. The pure physical beauty of watching a talented martial artist kick somebody in the face is universal, regardless of how the movies are. And so I wanted to, Liam was really the one that pitched this idea. We wanted to create something where people, gay people, women, trans people, minorities, whoever could still feel like they're heard and can also enjoy in the great art of cinematic ass kicking. And we're going to fuck up at some point down the road. I know we will. I absolutely know we will. But we're going to keep trying, and we're going to keep trying to make that space where that fills, and keep trying to highlight stuff. We did, we all went off. I got to introduce Liam to, my beloved War with, Tiger Shroff and Hrithik Roshan,
Yes.
and his mind was blown by what Indian cinema is doing right now. And so we're going to keep trying to do that. Again, we're not going to be perfect. We're Vice is black, but Liam and I, if we were any whiter, we'd be transparent. So, we are still coming from a position of privilege when we're talking about these movies. So that's why we do want to try and elevate voices that aren't our own, and we'll keep trying to do that. But and also for those wondering, yes, Adkins Undisputed is coming back. It's still under the umbrella. I just, as you mentioned, Shafi, part of the reason it's so good is because it takes me 20 fucking hours to do an episode, and I just haven't had time to do it yet. And so, but it is coming back. I do have some episodes banked. I just need to do the intros and the research. So I'm gonna finish that project. I don't want to leave it halfway done, but yeah, thank you for all those kind words. That really means the world to me, man. You and I we go back a couple of years now. We met right around the time I started Adkins Undisputed, and your friendship has been one of the high points of my last few years. So I really appreciate you saying that,
mate. Big up.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Right, Shaf, you've never ever said anything that nice to me, and I've known you for decades. So, do you want to give a little 5-minute spiel on me, and then Carlin? No, let's have the conversation.
Well,
you've never
Andy,
said anything like that.
Where's your?
If you want to finish
podcast?
it off with what is the vision of our podcast, because I've no idea. I don't know what we're trying to achieve here. So, let's hear it. Let's go.
Wow.
Well, wait for you to start a podcast, Andy, and then
we went to nursery together. We met Santa Claus together. We walked hand in hand into infant school together.
Last week.
That didn't mean anything. That didn't mean anything to me because I don't celebrate Christmas. So there you go.
Andy, this podcast is just our WhatsApp group, but in a podcast form. However, Shafi has stopped recommending film to us because he's got them all banked for future episodes. He just doesn't recommend films anymore. Cheers, Shafi. Thank you.
So, Mike, before the podcast started, what I would do is whenever there was like a great film showing on on one of our channels, like Film 4, I would basically go, "Oh my God, you guys got to watch this! Oh, this film's amazing!" I kind of go on a big spiel about it, and no replies, no responses whatsoever. So basically, this podcast is me forcing them to watch the films. Very
cleverly, making them watch the movies. Well done, sir. I tip my hat to you, sir.
Yeah.
High class level of manipulation there, Shaf.
But also, it's nice to see Andy and Dave fight over their favorite films as well. That's always
fun
to listen to. So anyway, Okay, cool. So just another thing. So one thing is that you've said on a few podcasts, I just wanted to sort of talk about is you talk about that you've got a tradition that every Halloween you watch The Crow. Is that right?
Every Devil's Night, so every October 30th, because it takes place on the night before. So every October 30th, I watch The Crow. Yep, absolutely. Have for, I don't know, 20 years.
So what's the tradition? Talk us through. Talk us through what you do.
So Devil's Night, it is not really that much tradition. I mean, I watched The Crow on October 30th every year.
Right.
I might do no tradition.
I thought you put your makeup on and stuff like that.
No, I haven't. I used to. I mean, I have done Crow cosplay before, but it's been
awesome.
No, I mean,
you should have turned up tonight, innit?
Andy was going to dress up as Godzilla tonight.
Brandon Lee, before Scott Adkins was my favorite actor, Brandon Lee was my favorite actor.
Wow.
And I was a big fan even before he died. Showdown, Low Tokyo, Rapid Fire, two of my favorite movies of all time. He died on the set of The Crow. As soon as he died, I dove headfirst into The Crow. I tracked down the old comics. I've actually got an original issue 2 signed by James O'Barr. And so then when the movie came out in 94, I flipped shit. I probably saw it 8 times in the theater, countless more when it came out on video. And because so much of that movie, like the idea of Devil's Night and it being the night before Halloween and just the whole goth atmosphere, it feels like a warm blanket to me to watch that movie. And so I've always watched it every October 30th. And I'm always, every time I watch it, I never get sick of that movie. I've probably seen that movie 50 times and I still find new things that I enjoyed to pull out of it. And so it's one of the few Halloween traditions I sort of stick with. My newest tradition is on October 31st. I actually watch Adam Wingard's The Guest. That I've done that.
Mate.
Shafi and Dave just jizz over that film, man. Yeah.
We've got to do all that together then. We've got to, on Halloween, we should all watch The Guest together.
Let's meet up in Vegas.
Let's meet up in Vegas.
Dude, it's a lot longer for you guys, but I'm sick out.
Don't worry about it.
Vegas. I can be there in no time. Oh yeah, let's do that. That's awesome.
Oh my God, that sounds great. So yeah, I mean that's we should. I know. I guess with the UK, we don't really go all out on Halloween, but we should do some sort of tradition like that. Yeah, The Guest, the Guest on Halloween's night sounds great. Andy, have you seen The Guest?
Sorry, I've only seen the Men in Black trilogy and every film you guys have told me to watch on it.
So yeah, Mike, if you ever need, I've told this to Lindsay when she was on our podcast, but if you ever need an expert on the Men in Black trilogy for your podcast, you can invite Andy. He's the biggest expert on the Men in Black films.
I say always find your niche and steer into it, right? Just find that niche and steer right into it.
That's the nicest way of saying what the fuck I've ever heard. So thank you very much. I appreciate your kindness.
Yeah, in other words, you're the most basic bitch. So,
what you do there? I've come to replace you.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. But yeah, I think we should do that on Halloween. Another one of your favorite films you've said on sort of many podcasts before. I think you recently. Sorry, I don't know. I can't remember the name of the podcast, but you appeared talking about Grosse Point Blank, right?
Yeah, my friend Matt Bledsoe's show Film Feast. I was on talking about Grosse Point Blank, which is easily one of my 10. It's weird. I said this on the show. It's one of those movies. If you were to ask me my favorite movies, I almost never remember to bring up Grosse Point Blank, and then I watch Grosse Point Blank, and I'm like, oh fuck, this is totally one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah. And it's one that's so in my DNA that like even like professionally I have to wear a suit to work and suit and tie and stuff, and even like the way I dress is right out of nice.
Nice.
It just and so I love that movie, and I was so thankful that Matt let me spend 2 hours talking about that just ridiculously awesome movie.
So, Mike, out of that soundtrack, do you have a favorite song?
Separating the soundtrack from the movie, it's the Pogues' Lorcas Novenas. Used in the movie, it is absolutely Queen and David Bowie's Under Pressure, because the way that song is used in that movie,
so that's when he's holding the baby, is that right?
When he's holding the baby and he's looking at the baby, and you get Bowie kicking in, like it's edited and it's timed perfectly for that song. Nice. But the Pogue song is like standalone. That's my favorite song in the soundtrack.
It's a question for Dave here. Guess what my favorite song of that soundtrack is?
From Grosse Pointe Blank?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Mirror in the Bathroom.
Sorry.
You got it, Kyle.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
I love that song, man.
Yeah.
Love that song.
So, basically, the
Shafi
English
and I've
beat...
actually seen the beat together, haven't
we? Yeah.
Sorry.
So the English beat came to Jersey, and then I said to Dave, I said, man, the beat are coming to Jersey. Do you want to watch them? And you're like, I don't know who they are. And then I remember like playing you that scene of and reminding you of that song. And we ended up going to the gig. Yeah. And they play that in the encore as well.
I've always thought that's one of the coolest scenes in cinema history. So John Cusack goes to his old locker, finds an old spliff, kind of crumbles it up in his hand. Then Benny the Jet comes around the corner all of a sudden, tries to kill him with a gun, fight, mirror in the bathroom, awesome fight. I just think that is one of cinema's greatest moments. I really do.
I made that argument on the episode that it's one of the greatest fight scenes of all time.
It's so good. And it's brutal as well to the end. Oh.
Because it's short, it's brutal, it comes from out of nowhere. There's no lead up, there's no posturing. Literally Cusack's at his locker, Benny comes around the corner, and they fucking just go. There's no like old kung fu movie like posturing, or they're like they just go, and the whole thing only lasts about 90 seconds, but it is hardcore, and you have the extra layer of Cusack actually knows what he's doing because he was trained by Benny the Jet. So it's actually Cusack doing his own. It's Cusack and Benny the Jet doing their own fighting. So you get clear face shots throughout the whole thing. It was very funny. Speaking of the beat, that until I met friends from made friends from the UK, they were always just the English. I had no idea they were just the beat. and once they came over here, they're like, oh, American producers are like, oh, we got to add the English beat here, so whenever somebody says the beat, I'm like, wait, is that the band that did Mirror in the Bathroom? Is that...
Yeah, because it's almost like a horror film, isn't it? Because he sort of, if I remember it correctly, he sort of closes his locker and he just appears almost like a jump scene from a horror film. I might be getting that slightly wrong, but I just whoa, shit, whoa.
It literally comes from out of nowhere, and you're feeling good because he's just hooked up with Minnie Driver, and you're
that's right. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, fucking Benny the Jet's just there, and it's a fight to the death. It's crazy.
Don't kill me now. Yeah, I'm about to get laid. Don't kill me tonight, man. I might stay up late and watch that tonight. Oh, what a film!
It is. It's a great film. It's an awesome film. Okay, great. So let's get on. I mean, I can't really think of a segue to move from Grosse Pointe Blank to Shin Godzilla. So I'll just ask you, Dave, could you quickly do your Godzilla impression so that we can move on to Godzilla?
Is he just going to expose himself?
Why did you bottle it? Go on, do it again.
No, I can't. If you're going to do it. No, it's not there. I'm so sorry.
What was that? I don't even know what that noise
I used to be able to do it, but I can't quite commit to it. I don't know what it is. I had a long day at work today. I don't think I'm quite there.
He used to...
The neighbours hate him anyway, man. They'll fucking hate him even more. Start screaming Godzilla noises.
I actually thought Mike had just fucked off then and been like, fuck this.
I thought Mike was like, well, Dave's bottled it, so I'm just going to leave. I'm out of here. Yeah.
I just saw him get up and walk away, and I thought, well, that's it. We had royalty for 20 minutes. We fucked it up. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh well, that's fine.
That was
I remember
a tenuous link at the best of times.
I remember
awesome.
during for the 1998 film, you used to do that impression at school a lot. So
I think then my voice broke and I couldn't do it anymore.
What, when you were 16?
I'm still waiting to go through puberty.
I don't know if my microphone will pick it up. It's a Hallmark ornament that makes.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, awesome.
Kids.
My childhood, 80s, that's 80s childhood right there. That's awesome.
Awesome, great. Okay, so let's start with the film. So, right, here's your warning. We'll be going into heavy spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film, we suggest you watch the film before listening to this. Here's another warning. The film that we'll be discussing is Japanese, so we apologize if we mispronounce any names involved in the film.
We're sorry.
Mike has chosen 2016's Shin Godzilla, written and directed by Hideaki Anno and co-directed by Shinji Higuchi. The film is a loose remake of the 1954 original Godzilla movie, as the iconic monster wreaks havoc in Tokyo, Japan, and focuses on the government's attempts to deal with this disaster. So just to let you guys know that Mike basically gave me a list of films, and they were all great, but a lot of them because we're UK peasants, we don't have access to most of these awesome films. So but Shin Godzilla was the one, and the thing is that I was quite excited about that choice because even though I could kind of confidently say I'm familiar with Asian cinema, I guess kaiju films is sort of like a big blind spot for me. So it's good to be sort of introduced to this. But Mike, what's your history of this film? Why was this on your list?
So I am Godzilla and Bruce Lee are kind of, I've told this story on other shows, but I have an uncle who was, not terribly older than me. You know, he was 17 or when I was born. And so he was like 22, 23 when I was 5. And he and my aunt were my kind of babysitters. And because he was that age in the 70s and early 80s, he was all into Star Trek and Godzilla and Bruce Lee films and martial arts films and stuff. And so he kind of helped shape me into the person that I am. And so Godzilla has been with me my whole life. And like things that are like that, you fall in love, you fall out of love, you take some time off, you come back, you sort of ebb and flow as it goes. But when this one came out, I wasn't a huge fan of the 2014 Gareth Edwards American version. And then this came out, and knowing that it was directed by Neon Genesis Evangelion's Hideaki Anno, I was like, I got it. This is going to be bonkers. And,
so you're sorry to interrupt. You're a fan of Neon Genesis Evangelion as well, then?
I am. And Anno's one of those directors that a lot of times I think I kind of respect more than I actually like a lot of his stuff. But I like that he's like David Lynch. He's working on a level of creativity that so few other directors actually are. And so when I found out he was doing a Godzilla movie, as soon as it was available for me to see here in the US, I saw it. And I am, my favorite Godzilla movie is the 1954 original. And they've tried to sort of redo that in various ways. And this was the first one that I really felt like nails that same vibe. And so, yeah, when I saw it, I flipped shit for it. And so it was one of those that when you asked me for suggestions, it was one of the first ones I thought of because I really, I have no idea what you guys thought of the movie, but for me, it's a movie that I think is really special. I think, especially because, and we'll get into this more, the time it was made post the Fukushima reactor meltdown and the earthquake, which is exactly what the 1954 original does. The 1954 original is wrestling with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. there's just a lot going on in this movie that I think is really special. So that was kind of why I wanted to introduce it to you guys, and you know, hopefully, if not, whatever, you have terrible taste, but hopefully, you know,
we do.
everybody can kind of at least see why I like the movie, even if they don't. You can see why I might like the movie.
Thanks, that Mike. So, Andy, we're going to do. If I asked you to recap the film, but it's going to be different because it's going to be...
Oh, my God. What do you mean?
Well, it's going to be a collaboration between me and you, because you're going to do the recap of the film, but I'm going to provide the soundtrack of the film. Okay?
It sounded a bit like Simon Says by Pharaoh Monch at times. I was like, wow. As he's coming out of the sea, I was like, Godzilla's just like, fuck you. Bomb. Oh, it's just like, it's quality.
The wrong song, mate.
No, sorry, no.
Get up.
Shut the fuck
okay,
up.
Right,
Sorry,
Andy, would you like to start?
I don't remember any of those lyrics in this film. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So sorry, what's going on? You're going to rap over this
I'm not going to rap.
analysis.
I'm not going to rap. I'm going to do the Godzilla theme. I'm going to do the Godzilla theme while you do. Just to give a dramatic effect to it, that's all.
Okay. All right, sounds.
Hey, what's that you say? It's Andy's articulate analysis.
All right, so basically this film is a Godzilla film, and what happens is there's some nuclear waste at the bottom of the sea, and there's some nuclear fission going on, and it creates this insane lizard, like, fucking hell, I didn't even know what was going on. Like, so you've got this. If anyone's seen Fraggle Rock, right? Godzilla comes out and he's like this turtle has had sex with a snake that's had sex with a sock, which has been on Fraggle Rock, and he's cruising around the city, and you're like, what the fucking kind of Godzilla shit is this? So I'm like, this is a nightmare. And then like, I'd just come out of like maybe 10 meetings in work that day. And then I was like, I felt like I'd been in another 12 meetings by the end of the film. So I was like, what's going on? So basically, the normal stuff happens that, you know, Godzilla fucks shit up, and there's lots of meetings going on, and there's like, the government's getting involved, and there's US oversight. And then you know, they try and like give it, like, I think there were like 20 trucks full of slush puppies, so they tried to make it cold so it like doesn't move or whatever. And then there's some fighting stuff going on, and then that's it. Then the film ends. So the film ends, and I rang Shafi, and then I was like, look, I don't know. That's it, Shaf. The film's ended.
that was intense. Jeez.
So the film ended. And then I was like, oh, Shaf, mate, I'm not sure what's happened here. I think like Jen's put something in my tea. I've never seen a Godzilla film like this again. So then I rewatched it after doing a bit of research. It's one of the best Godzilla films I've ever seen. So
how many Godzilla films have you seen?
4.
Oh, right, okay, well, that's all right then.
Yeah.
So
because I didn't know about, I learned so much from this movie. I didn't know about the morphing Godzilla, the tail fucking having a face on it and all the rest of it, the subplot. I didn't know any of that because I've only watched Men in Black. So it was amazing for me just to watch a Godzilla film. And I've been thinking about Godzilla non-stop. I went on Amazon today and bought a load of toys for my kids because they need to get into Godzilla. So
for your kids.
I love this movie.
Yeah,
this is a really, really good movie.
Yeah. I mean,
but you need to like you can't, like, there's so many people out there that I'm worried when they see the little Godzilla like at the beginning, they're going to be thinking, what the hell is this all about? But you just got to get through that and then rewatch it.
I proper started laughing when it just appeared on screen. It's basically a turd with googly eyes, man, isn't it? Just like,
I thought it was a joke. I was like, is this Mr. Socko from WWF or something? It was like, what is cruising around the city? But it was good, man. It was awesome. And that tail thing, we need to talk about the tail later because that's blown my mind.
That's the very last scene of the film, man. Yeah, we'll get to that.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, what's going on here? Like,
that was scary.
Insane.
So firstly, I just want to commend you, Andy, because usually when you have an opinion on a film, you're quite stubborn about it. And it's wrong. You're quite stubborn about it. But the fact is, I have to respect you for rewatching the film and being more open-minded. So that's That's a big respect to you for that.
Thank you.
Mike, I just want to say I really, really enjoyed this film. I really did. So good choice, man.
Yeah, I did as well. Yeah, great film.
Me too. I agree.
Okay, so yeah, so as you can tell, we all like this film. So Dave, yeah, I think you probably watched it the most recently out of everyone. Yeah, give us your take.
Mike's decision to choose it, that's the reason to choose a film, isn't it? That's perfect. That's why this pod is kind of not unique, but I like that style. It's like, I love this film. I want you guys to watch it. And even if you don't like it, I still want you guys to watch it. And it's just perfect. So this is a film I probably would have never got around to watching, but I absolutely loved it on so many levels. And it is freaking awesome, frankly. Like I really enjoyed it. And I want to watch it again because I feel like it's one of those ones that has so much plot. And I tell you what, it was almost exhausting, like reading the subtitles as well. Like, because it's like, whoa, this is really fast,
I didn't have the subtitle version.
I had dub as well. Yeah.
So for the viewers, so Andy and Kyle watched the dub version. I'm Michael.
Not through choice, Mike's though. Not through choice.
Yeah, not through choice.
So Mike's familiar with probably the subtitle version. I'm guessing. Is that right?
I've seen both. Right. But I totally get
legendary answer.
The subtitles. I mean, one of the things. So if you look at the making of this, Anno literally tightened up the script so much because he wanted it to feel like an Aaron Sorkin script. He wanted it to feel like The Social Network. And so everybody is talking so fucking fast and there's so much dialogue. And so if you're not super used to reading subtitles, I mean, it can be really overwhelming because they're also throwing up names and titles of all the characters going. And so there's a lot of ways. I am very, very anti-dub for live action most of the time. This is one movie where I actually could legit say, yeah, maybe for the first time, check out the dub because it's a Funimation dub, and so it's not a bad dub. I don't think the voice actors are pretty good, and so for the first time, it's not a terrible way to check out the dub first because the subtitles come fast and furious in this one.
So yeah, with that, I rented it on Amazon and there was no choice. There was just the film. So I clicked it and then I was like, where are the subtitles? Oh, fucking hell, it's dub only. And for 10 minutes, I text these guys saying, oh, for fuck's sake, it's dub. And for 10 minutes, I was just like in a bit of a mood. But then, to be honest, it's fine. You stopped noticing it after 10 minutes. Man. Yeah, I stopped noticing it, to be honest. It was fine. So,
Sound. Well, no, because it's like, I would want to stress that I'm so glad I watched the dub version. It was heavy, but I'm so glad because it just would have driven me spare. But I always felt like, I remember in Blockbusters when you went to film and the person behind the counter had to say, you do know this is dubbed, yeah? And I'd always sort of be a bit upset, but like, yeah, it's all right. Because obviously people would return a film.
I like my pornos.
I'm saying, this is stuff. I'm not here to read. I'm here to watch, and I'm just like, oh, it's all right. I know this film is going to be in subtitles. I don't mind, and so I was happy to watch it in subtitles. But I was just like, wow, I really have to concentrate and stay alert for this. But I'm glad I did. I'm glad I watched that version because I would have found it a bit strange. And when I finally watched the undubbed version of Hard Boiled, it became one of my favorite films of all time because it went from one of the arguably the greatest action film ever made, and when I saw the sort of version, the extended version with subtitles, it went to one of the best thrillers I've ever seen as well, and it is just unreal. So I would never, ever, ever watch a dub film again after that, and so I'm so glad that I put the effort in, and it was just honestly 2 hours of pure joy. I absolutely loved this film, loved it.
So just a quick digression. Mike's probably more familiar with anime than the rest of the group, but I would say anime works quite well regarded with dub, I think. How about you, Mike? Do you watch it with subtitles, or what do you
typically actually watch dubbed anime because it's animated and they don't animate it to match the face. I know that the dub versus sub in anime is a big thing. For me, I think that the Funimation dub team that does most of the anime here in the US and the UK, they do a terrific job. And in a lot of ways, Cowboy Bebop's one where I actually Western
Dave loves that, don't you, Dave? Yeah.
The Western dub is better than the Japanese track.
Agreed. Yeah.
So, but live action, it's more tricky because you actually do have mouth movements that just don't match. And we all tend to remember the old, Shaw Brothers dubs and stuff like that. And especially those of us that got into Hong Kong cinema in the 90s, where you got truly I remember the very first dubbed version of Hard Boiled I saw. Chow Yun Fat was Australian, and you're just kind of like, that's not. But modern dubs aren't terrible. I'm still very pro subtitle, and I do think it's worth the effort. But for a movie like this, where the dialogue is so fast and it's so dense, I don't. The only reason I would recommend the dub is just because I don't want somebody to miss out on what I think is a truly amazing movie just because they get 10 minutes in and they can't keep up with the subtitles. My wife is a perfect example. I love her to death, but she didn't grow up watching subtitled movies. And so a lot of times she's like, I don't have it in me to try and, I've trained myself to sort of view the full screen, and I can take what's happening and the language in at the same time. She can't. She has to look up and down and look up and down. So this is one with her. I haven't watched this one with her, but this is one with her where I'd probably watch the dub with her first, because I want her to watch googly-eyed turd Godzilla and not be distracted. Fucking Hideaki Anno, man. What a goddamn genius. He's like, I'm going to make Godzilla a character that we all know who is an iconic figure, and I'm going to turn him into a turd with googly eyes before we get to the iconic Godzilla that we all know.
Because I remember seeing that. I was seeing that. I was thinking, oh, this is probably another. They've started with a different monster, and
that's exactly what I thought. I was like, this cannot possibly be Godzilla.
This is Godzilla's lunch.
I know this was a reboot. Yeah, I had no idea it was a reboot. I thought, Godzilla's going to come and fuck this guy up, and then because he comes to save the day. Like, I've not seen loads of films. Well, he's a good guy. Is he now? I don't really know. He's Godzilla,
it's interesting. Good guy. I've always deemed Godzilla as the savior of humanity, and then I'm like, well, maybe that's because I've watched too many American films.
He's a complex character, misunderstood, I guess. Yeah.
Well, so I guess how he's been portrayed, I guess, regarding the Japanese way and the American way. I think the American way have sort of made him more. They attempted to make him more heroic. Where the Japanese, from my understanding, anyways, that the Japanese versions have mainly kept him kind of villainous. But Mike, made you want to talk about that?
Well, so you've got, all right, how deep into the weeds do you guys want me to go on?
Let's do it.
Get well in. I'm going to take tomorrow.
Real fucking deep. All right.
Yeah.
So
all night, yeah.
When it comes to sort of Japanese cinema, especially long-running series, they divide them up by the reigns of the emperors. So Godzilla started in what was called the Showa era. And so you've got a set of Godzilla movies that are called the Showa era Godzilla movies. That's what Criterion put out a couple years ago for their 1,000 Spine collection. And then you've got the Heisei era, the Neo Heisei era, and now we're in the Reiwa era. And what happens in every era is sort of Godzilla starts as this allegory for natural disasters, be it nuclear war or whatever. He's a force of nature. He's almost kind of like a Lovecraftian god. He's so above and beyond human morality that to call him good or evil is really not appropriate, because Godzilla doesn't care.
It's another level.
Godzilla's just a force of nature. It's a hurricane.
Yes.
Is a
tornado,
hurricane.
Isn't it? It's
not
good, it's not evil, it's a tornado, yeah.
Yeah, is a tornado good or evil? No, it's just a tornado. But then, inevitably, as the series goes on, because he's so popular, he gets... The edges get sanded off and he becomes a hero. And that's ultimately, at the end of the day, Godzilla is always going to be a hero, because they're going to bring in these monsters that are worse than Godzilla. And Godzilla is always going to be on the side of like the reason Godzilla's angry at humanity is because we keep fucking the world up. And so the way you make Godzilla a hero is you bring monsters in who are going to fuck the world up even worse. And then Godzilla goes, well, shit. All right, I guess I'll side with humanity because they're less bad than this giant garbage monster in Hedorah or this alien monster in Ghidorah. And so that's how you sort of end up making Godzilla a hero. And that's happened every era. We haven't gotten more Reiwa movies besides Shin Godzilla, but I don't know if you guys saw, Toho just announced they're going to do a shared universe of Godzilla, Kamen Rider, Ultraman, and Evangelion. And they're going to try and blend them all overseen by Hideaki Anno.
I saw he was doing the new Ultraman film. Well, I didn't know it was like a shared universe.
He's got a new Ultraman coming out. He's also doing a new Kamen Rider, and then he did the rebirth of Evangelion, the animated ones over the last couple of years. They're going to tie them all together in sort of a shared universe. But that's what makes Godzilla so great. So one of my other favorite Godzilla movies is and Shafi, you'll probably know this name. I don't know if the Andy, Kyle, and Dave, if you guys will, but Ryui Kitamura.
The idiots might not know, but Shafi might know.
Collectively, it's fine. We know our place.
Ryui Kitamura.
Come back in 10 minutes. Thanks.
Ryui Kitamura of Versus fame did a Godzilla movie called Final Wars.
Oh, Versus. Yeah, Dave, you've seen Versus, haven't you?
Ryu versus Ken, Street Fighter. What?
No, the film Versus.
Kramer versus Kramer. I've seen that.
Gosh, I have seen Versus. Yes, I have actually. Yeah, wow. But I've only seen it once. Yeah.
It is 180 degrees the opposite of Shin Godzilla, and yet I love it as much as Shin Godzilla.
Fucking mad, that film.
It's just crazy.
It's mad. It is
it's
bonkers.
The craziest shit.
And
strap in and enjoy yourself. That's honestly, that is a mad film.
And so that's what I love about Godzilla is very much like Batman. One of the things I love about Batman is you can drop Batman into any genre and he works as a character, right? You can do gritty, Matt Reeves, I can't see shit. Mike has to leave to smoke a cigarette halfway through because he hates the movie so much. Batman.
Dear.
Let's not talk about that.
That's a spicy take.
Let's just hold up a minute.
Listen to last week's Action for Everyone. You'll hear me.
I did. I was like, Shafi, why is this guy coming on? Fucking hell. Jesus.
Kyle almost didn't join us tonight.
He's the animated The Brave and the Bold, where he fights like the Music Meister and stuff like that. Like, Batman's great. Any genre you can do with Batman. Godzilla's the same thing. Godzilla knows no genre boundaries.
Right. Okay. So I can't wait. I can't wait for the rant there. I can't wait for the Godzilla rom-com.
Quite good. Singing in the rain with Godzilla.
Okay, so the thing is that we've been talking about Godzilla, but the thing is, what surprised me about the film, and if you look at the posters, obviously it's going to show the monster, and it's just the monster over a red background, but a lot of the running time is just people in rooms talking, and that's what sort of surprised me. I was like, oh, right, this is actually completely different to what I thought a Godzilla film would be, and it feels like it doesn't really feel like a monster movie in a way, and I mean that. I don't mean that in a derogatory sense to monster movies, but I think it sort of was a nice surprise. I don't know how the rest of the group felt about that. Was it the film that you ended up seeing? Was it the film that you thought you were going to watch? Andy, we'll start with you.
No, but the first time round, I wasn't in the right place because I'd just come from work, so I wasn't up for attending another load of meetings. But the second time round, I really, really liked it. And to be honest with you, I've got to be honest, I cheated a bit. So I looked at the reviews and stuff, and then I started to be like, oh, okay, this is a commentary here. So actually it's smart and it's layered. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like, just this funniness of it. Like, they're having a meeting and they need to have another meeting about something. So they have to go to the specific room to have a meeting, and then all the shots of the files and the paper. It's so ridiculous when you think there's a giant monster outside. Put the file down. It doesn't matter. Just get on with it. I liked it. It was cool.
Before that, they say that one of them asks, well, what have we actually got a name for it. And then they said, oh, actually, we've got some experts that are actually going to have a meeting to actually decide what to call it.
Yeah.
So then like one of the like sane people goes, okay, can we just stop talking about the name of it? Let's just talk about how we're actually going to save the city. But you know, it's just, I think like that point sort of nailed it, to be honest, regarding.
No, it was good.
You know,
and it was even the way like the Prime Minister ignored the advice sometimes. So you have all these meetings and stuff, they reach their conclusions, and then he goes on TV and does his own thing anyway. So it's quite, I liked it. I thought there was quite a bit of a comedic element to it, which I didn't expect in a monster movie like this.
How about you, Kyle?
Yeah, that was. I mean, I was not expecting that at all. I thought it was just going to be a full out, because I've not seen it because I didn't like the 2014 Godzilla, and I've not watched any since then. But apparently, Godzilla vs Kong is literally just fighting for 2 hours. So I thought it might just be a full out, especially because like Mike chose as well. I thought it might be a full on action film, but no, it's very much like a satire, isn't it? Political satire. And yeah, just these guys, like these guys in a room just like arguing, and I just really got like vibes of the pandemic, man. Just, you know, like shit's going down, what are we going to do about it? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like Boris Johnson in his press conferences and Trump in his press conferences, just, you know, that some people behind them are just going, oh, we don't really know what's happening. Just go and say this because we don't fucking know, you know. Just they left everything too late. It was all hearsay and just a bunch of
when he's
really,
like,
wasn't
it definitely won't come on shore. And then the guy walks up to him, it's like, oh, it's just
exactly.
That
was comic gold.
One thing I will say about it is that as opposed to how I feel about Trump and Boris Johnson, it really doesn't feel like it's taking the piss out of those politicians. They are still being very considered. That PM isn't really, he's listening to everyone, and he's actually, his intentions are good. He keeps on saying, I just want to make it, safest for the people. So in a way, I kind of like it's quite a patriotic film, but it doesn't really feel like it's sort of spiteful or angry about the government, even though, there are, the government are sort of finding kind of obstacles, and it's themselves that are the obstacles of how to sort of move forward. I feel like it's something that you could tell that there's like respect for the characters, if you know what I mean.
I'm not sure I'd say it's patriotic, because like America come and save the day with the bombs and stuff, and always like, oh, America's come to help us. And I thought I actually was a bit confused with that part of it. I didn't really know what.
No,
what
they said, they've drilled in to say that actually, how about we solve this ourselves before?
Yeah.
They were saying, well, let's not. Sorry to the American on this call. Let's not.
Just tread very carefully here, Sam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry. Let's not kind of let the Americans sort of destroy our country, because we already have lived. We already have that trauma of the Hiroshima bomb, and I think I like the fact that it treads a very thin line where it's not to saying you're going to spend 2 hours with these really dumb people. They're actually bright and considered people, and I kind of respect it for that.
Yeah, and there was an insight as well into the political aspirations of the young. Yeah, so that was quite cool. Like the movement within a power structure like that, and how you can gain power out of a crisis like that. That was quite interesting to
there's always an opportunity, isn't there, for political gains and stuff.
Yeah. So lots more than just a fucking crazy King Kong Godzilla movie.
Well, and the thing for me is, Kyle, you mentioned it. I mean, God, this movie hits, we both live in countries where our leaders have completely, over the last 2 years, completely, utterly fucking failed us. And I don't think there's any question to that. And it is, what's interesting, what's fascinating about it is it is patriotic, but what it's really patriotic for is the JDF, the Japanese Defense Force, versus the politicians. And so it is a little bit regressive almost in that regard, because it's like, if we could just let the guys with the guns, the kick-ass dudes do their job, we'd solve this. But at the end of the day, I still think the movie really works, because it's still the scientists. It's still the science heroes that saved the day here. Yeah. And that goes all the way back to the 1954 Godzilla, because it's science heroes. Godzilla always has this strain of science heroes saving the day. And that's one of the things I really like about it, is it's always somebody figuring out, we can't just bomb, every time they try and use firepower on Godzilla, what does it do? It just makes it stronger. Yeah. Literally every time they bomb it and stuff, it just forces it to evolve and makes it stronger. And so they finally have to figure out, we can't destroy it, we just have to stop it, which feels so much more relevant even now, where we're living in a pandemic that we know we can't destroy. We just have to stop and control. That's all we can, that's the best we can do. And man, this movie hit hard in 2016. I rewatched it the other day for this, and I literally, there were parts where I literally had I don't want to say tears, but chills, and just was man, this fucking stupid monster movie that has no business being as good as it is just literally making me overwhelmed with emotion right now. And that's why I'm so happy all of you guys kind of are feeling the same way about it, because it is, there's a lot of monster movies. I can't remember. I think it was you, Kyle. You mentioned Godzilla, or maybe it was Andy, or mentioned Godzilla vs. Kong, which is just awesome in terms of, you want to watch some big monsters punch each other. Great. That's awesome. That's fun. But this is so much more than that. And
so Mike, sorry to interrupt, but do you mind if you tell us your thoughts on all of the American Godzilla films and those MonsterVerse films? What's your opinion starting from 1998?
So 98's terrible. I love Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin. Independence Day is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I thought 98 was 98 is so bad that in Kitamura's Godzilla Final Wars, the very first monster that Godzilla fights and kicks the shit out of is the 98 Emmerich Godzilla.
Wow,
that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. I already said I didn't really like Gareth. I thought Gareth Edwards' 2014 one was okay. It did the bare minimum of what a Godzilla movie should be. I thought Godzilla King of Monsters was borderline unwatchable, simply because I don't know why Mike Doherty decided that we weren't going to get to actually see anything that was happening in the movie, because it's so poorly, it's so dark. But I will give credit, Bear McCreary goes fucking hard on the score for that movie.
Score, yeah.
And then I kind of enjoyed, I enjoyed quite a bit Godzilla vs. Kong, just in terms of, there's the Lethal Weapon reference where Kong has to bash his shoulder to reset it.
Oh, wow.
But for me, I'm a Godzilla guy, so the fact that Kong is ultimately the hero of that movie kind of they did my chonky boy wrong in that movie. But I don't love them, because I think the biggest problem is any American version of Godzilla is going to take Godzilla and try and turn him into a superhero. And a uniquely Japanese, to me, it's like if another country tried to make Superman is so uniquely part of the Japanese American, it was created by two Jewish Americans. Superman is inherently American. Godzilla is inherently Japanese. I just think you need...
Actually, Superman's from Jersey, mate. I don't know if you know.
That's right.
But I don't think an American Godzilla is ever going to live up to the best of the Japanese Godzillas, because the best of the Japanese Godzillas are opening those veins and pouring all the rage and anger and unique cultural identity into the movie. Shin Godzilla blows away any of the MonsterVerse Godzillas, in my opinion. It's not even a competition. It's not even close.
God, I need to take down this Matthew Broderick poster off of that. Let me just...
the thing is that one thing... So I've only seen the 98 and the 2014 films, and which is what made Shin Godzilla refreshing is that those American films, they like focus on these characters who they're sort of like about them trying to find their family and you know, that's why I've been sort of turned off from sort of kaiju films, is because I'd be more interested in just watching monsters fight. But then this gave me something. It didn't give me either of those, and it gave me something really refreshing. But I mean, I remember watching 2014s and going, why am I looking at Aaron Taylor Johnson's face? Like, why am I spending the running time looking at his gormless face when I want to see Godzilla? And one thing is that you could say that about, you know, someone might criticize this film by saying, well, I wanted to see more monster mayhem, but it really is about how the country as a whole reacts to like this national disaster, and not just you know, one character having to sort of go from one place to another to try and find his family and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, and for me too, you know, without going into too much detail, I work for the government. And so I am very familiar with government.
And me.
So we're all very familiar with government bureaucracy. And man, this movie, like that bullshit of you got to have a meeting to have a meeting and stuff. It's fucking, oh my God, it hits. So you literally have a giant radioactive lizard outside your door and you're fighting over like what you're gonna call it, like you guys mentioned earlier, or whatever. It's like, it's so absurd, and it's so, but there's just such an inherent, I love the way this is the one that is to me, of all of them, that is the closest to the 1954 original, of there is this underlying level of tragedy because all these people who are more interested in their power or their prestige completely fuck up how to handle this. And then you have a couple of science heroes who are like, you know, finally get the chance to do what needs to be done. And, you know, again, tying it back into the pandemic, look, everybody knows we've all complained about the CDC changing their rules or the WHO changing their rules, or, you know, and it's like, but the doctors on the front lines, they're not doing that. They're just trying to do the best they can. And I do love the best Godzilla movies are that the bureaucracy, the government, they screw it up. And then the doctors on the front lines finally figure out, here's how we can stop this natural disaster, which is what Godzilla is. It's a natural disaster. It is you know, it's not a superhero. It's a hurricane. It's a tornado. It's a nuclear bomb. It's an earthquake. You know, and man, this movie just nails that vibe so well for me.
I loved when I love when the Prime Minister had died. Sorry, I didn't obviously love that he died, but and then they got the new Prime Minister, and they're like talking to him. He's like, "Right, shit, I've got to sort the country out." And then he's like, "Oh fuck, my noodles are soggy." It's just fucking amazing. I was just like crying, just like, "Oh my God, the Prime Minister's died, and you're worried that your noodles are soggy."
The shit just got real.
Yeah.
No, it's brilliant. Oh, these comic moments that just come out of nowhere, don't they? It's just like, wow. But even if you were facing disaster like that, there would be comic moments. That's wonderfully picked up in this film, I feel.
So, like talking about like the direction of the film, I think what's really cool, as Mike sort of talked about in the beginning, that regarding sort of the dialogue sort of moving really fast, I think that is intentional because it's, you know, if we on paper, people sitting in rooms talking, you'd think, well, I don't really want to watch 2 hours of that, but they shoot it and they edit it in the most sort of visceral way. So especially because when it comes to like the PM kind of talking to his committee, you know, the camera's quite static, but then when it goes to that room where all the scientists are in, you know, the camera like moves. There's so much kind of quick editing. Like when someone kind of goes into a room, the camera kind of follows them. They do like steady cam shots of like it being attached to like the laptop, and You know, and as you said, it's sort of like the way, I think what actually would make a good like double bill with this, you wouldn't think it is Zodiac, because Zodiac, that film is like 2 or 3 hours. It actually goes up to like 3 hours, and that film, you know, it's even though most of the running time like this film is people in rooms talking, every scene is very short, and that's sort of like with this film as well. And a lot of the times, as you mentioned about subtitles, watching it first time going, I had to sort of, you know, rewind it after a scene ended to rewatch the scene, go, okay, did I just take all that information? That went a bit too fast. Intentionally so, because the director wants to make it feel as like dynamic and as sort of visceral
awesome.
as possible.
Yeah, because the way to actually do this is to learn Japanese first, isn't it? If you're really going to commit to this film, learn Japanese, then watch it. That'd be my advice to the viewers, because it is wonderful. And like when you think of that opening scene from The Social Network and stuff, like imagine if English isn't your first language and you're trying to keep up with that, and you feel like you would miss something. I'd say watch that a few times. If actually, regardless, you should watch that opening scene a few times, but it's just so good when they talk like that.
And as Mike said regarding the director having a stopwatch, that's exactly what David Fincher did. He basically had a stopwatch and said he timed each person talking. And if you guys, I know that you all read my article in Neon Splatter about David Fincher, but you know it word by word, don't you? Yeah. So, but that's what, you know, his sort of sense of rhythm. He kept on doing another take, because he wanted everyone to sort of deliver their lines, you know, at a certain speed to kind of make to fit a time period. And this film works exactly the same way. And also regarding its similarities in Zodiac, is that Zodiac, the antagonist, you could say the villain of the film is the Zodiac serial killer, but that's just sort of a presence in the film, and the real sort of antagonist of that film is Procedure. It's sort of like it's bogging everything down. Can't remember the name of the Tosco's, I think what the main cop.
Toshi.
He knows Toshi, yeah, he knows he in his heart he knows who the real Zodiac killer is, but he can't prove it because he has to kind of, you know, as they mentioned several times in the film, due process. And I guess, you know, your job, I guess you're sort of very familiar with that. But, you know, and in a way, this film, Godzilla is just like a presence, but it's just sort of instigating. The real sort of antagonist of this is basically bureaucracy. So I think those two are very sort of similar films. And yeah, because Zodiac's one of my favorite films, this is slowly I'm thinking this will probably be like a very close. Wow. I can imagine just rewatching this film again and again and again.
How have we talked more about Zodiac on this episode than we did the Batman episode?
Oh yeah,
honestly, we didn't even mention it, really, did we?
Yeah. Because well, let's not talk about Batman.
No, you're fine. You're fine. But in a lot of ways, you're right, because the thing is here is this is because both the Zodiac Killer and Zodiac, and even if you want to Batman, you want to talk about the Riddler, they're forces. They're these things that can't be stopped. And Godzilla, you know, you can't stop Godzilla. You can't stop earthquakes. You can't stop thunderstorms and hurricanes and tornadoes. All you can do is prepare. And that's what I love so much, is it really illustrates how badly so many of our governments are prepared for, well, and the last 2 years has just proven this point, how badly our governments are prepared for catastrophes, because it's Godzilla is not something you can just shoot or bomb. All you can do is freeze it, run a bunch of trains into its ass, and
that's such a good scene.
And and hopefully freeze it before weird humanoid Godzillas start popping out of its tail.
Oh man!
Please, can you explain to me what that's all about?
Yeah, I absolutely can. If you really want me to, I can, because they
let's hear it.
they talk about that Godzilla is a new form of life that can reproduce asexually. And we know based on sock turd, googly-eyed Godzilla. So basically, if you look close at the things coming out of the tail at the end, Godzilla was about to give birth to a whole shit ton of new Godzillas that start as humanoid, and then they will eventually evolve into Godzilla.
God.
So literally,
wow.
It was an extinction level event that got just in the nick of time.
So, yeah, because that's why they were kind of justified when all the other countries were like, we're going to have to nuke these people. We're going to have to nuke it if it's going to reproduce. When they were doing the reproduction thing, it's like, whoa, this feels like aliens now, and we really are in danger.
And has that always been a part of Godzilla, even back from the 50s?
No, that's that's mad fucking genius Hideaki Anno bringing that to the table. That's a new. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Neon Genesis Evangelion, but he is so enraptured with the idea of the end of humanity as we know it and what sort of the next evolution of humanity will look like and stuff. So that is not a Godzilla. That's new for this movie. That's
okay.
But that is still also that Anno just brilliance that he brings to the table. I love.
Because that was such a mental way to end it. It just felt like you think, I've finished this, and then you see that, and you're like, what the fuck? And then bang, movie's over.
Yep. And you go right into that. I also love one of the things I have to shout out. I love that he reused some of his Evangelion score, but also did not re-record Akira Ikafube's 1954 score because he's like, yeah, no, that's already a perfect score. I'm just going to fucking reuse these. Like, you know what? Because sometimes shit is just good. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just if shit's good, just fucking use it. Why not?
The sort of horror film that leaves that, whoa, you thought it was over. But, I do quite like those cheeky little extras going.
Oh, quality.
you love it, man. You love like when a film ends and they're like, "Oh, you think that the Riddler was good? Here's the Joker."
I knew you were going to make that point. It's different when it's not horror. It's just like not necessarily a kind of sequel bait, but just nope. Didn't quite finish. Like the end of The Thing, 1982 and stuff. I love it.
Man, I love that ending of The Thing. Such a great ending.
This is so similar. I mean, you could honestly do, Lindsay, if you're listening, fucking Shin Godzilla, and I know she's already done Shin Godzilla, but Shin Godzilla and The Thing, fucking Schlockenau feature because like they're both about, because that's the thing here with this is it's not a traditional horror movie, but again, you survive a hurricane. We get a shit ton of hurricanes here in the U.S., especially if you live in like Florida or the Southeast. You're constantly pounded, and you survive them and you get through them. But there's another hurricane 6 months away, and that's what I love about the ending here with the weird humanoids coming out of the tail and stuff. Is it's like, if at any point you don't keep Godzilla frozen, it's the end of the world. Yeah. It's literally the end of the world. And so everybody has to come together to say, we have the most destructive weapon on the face of the earth, and we have to keep it contained, because if we don't, we're fucked. And that just, it hits so hard at the end of that movie in terms of there's no win here. There's just survival. And that's the best Godzilla movies to me, are the ones where there is no win. We survive. We survive. We somehow either stop Godzilla or turn Godzilla away, but all we do is survive.
That's like real, man, with Ukraine and shit going on now. Like Russia saying they're getting the nukes prepared and that. It's like, fuck, man. Yeah, no one wins, do they? Yeah.
No, there is no win when you're dealing with nuclear weapons or weapons of war or natural disasters. The win is, or fucking pandemics. The win is you wake up tomorrow. Yeah. And if you wake up tomorrow, that's your win. And this movie for me nails that so fucking hard.
Yeah, because even during the film, it's a bit like, oh, is Godzilla coming back? Where's he gonna resurface? Can we find him and stuff? It's just like shit, it's just offshore, and you don't know where he's gonna land. It's almost like Jaws in a weird way, and it's just like, oh man, the tension was always there throughout. Oh, loved it.
Another thing is that process of freezing Godzilla. So that I believe that they use that same process in the Fukushima nuclear disaster. So
oh wow, okay,
yeah, they actually use that very like similar vehicles in order to sustain
liquid nitrogen or something.
To freeze everything. Yeah, that's from my understanding. Anyway.
Something I read, and I can't remember who it was, that Japan's national pride is their trains. So they use the trains to like blow the shit out of them, didn't they, before they did all that?
Yeah.
I thought the train and I thought the action in this movie was pretty fucking awesome as well. Like
we're not really talking about the action. Let's go into it.
The tanks swiveling around and firing the missiles. Like, I haven't seen anything like that for a while. I thought it was pretty badass.
I love in particular, again, as you know, because as a Godzilla fan, you want the roar and you want the atomic breath, right? And that fucking scene where the U.S. comes in and they're dropping the bombs, and all of a sudden you see the tail fins light up. Yeah. Godzilla, just blows out the fire and then just unleashes. And something that was again new was the split jaw. That's not traditional Godzilla, but it's so fucking badass. Yeah. And it's really hard when you're watching that not to be like, fuck yeah, Godzilla. Like, fuck yes. And that's, again, the thing that's so great about Godzilla is it's this horrifying thing, but it's also so fucking cool. The action scenes are incredibly well done in this. Yeah. Both Godzilla kicking ass, but then also Japan kicking ass in return. The way the trains are driving into him and you get all that great music at the end and stuff. There's a lot of fist pumping to go on. I feel like we've talked about this like this is some depressing, dour, awful, slog of a movie, but it's not. It's fucking cool as hell.
Yeah. Well done, Kyle. Well done, Kyle. I know, because I was thinking Blade 2 when I first saw his mouth open like that. I was like, shit, that's like Blade 2.
That bit where he fucks up the helicopter, like out of Independence Day as well. Badass.
Did they reuse? So I've not seen the original 1954 film. I know you said to watch it, Mike, but it's not available on streaming here, so I couldn't watch it. Did they? So it sounds to me like the noises that Godzilla makes, but also the explosion noises all sound very kind of like compressed, so like they could have been from tape. So did they reuse all the original sounds then for this?
Not all of them, but Anno specifically demanded that the movie was mixed in essentially mono to kind of match the 1954 sound because he wanted it to feel as much like that. So it's one of the only movies. It's actually mixed in a 3.1 audio. So you basically have two front channels, a center, and a sub, and that's what which is essentially what a movie theater kind of would have been like around 1954. Cool. So he was really trying to replicate that sound because he did want this. So this is the first. So we've had lots of Godzilla movies that are essentially sequels to 1954. This is the first proper reboot. This is the first proper Japanese Godzilla movie where it's like we're starting from zero. This is the first time everybody's met Godzilla. And he wanted to try and replicate that same vibe and that same feel. So yeah, right down to the sound mixing. Because again, he's a mad genius. He sounds completely awful to work with. Like if you were a filmmaker, I just don't think you want to work with Hideaki Anno at all. But if you're a fan, if you're a consumer, the dude's fucking brilliant.
He gets shit done.
He gets shit done and he gets it done better than anybody else. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so and they did reuse a lot of sound effects. Obviously, they reused the music. He initially tried to have somebody redo the 1954 score, and he's like, it doesn't sound like what I want. So let's just use the 1954 score. And they had some other, the person that did the actual score was the same one that did Evangelion, and he was like, let's just use the Evangelion score. And, you know, I can't imagine fucking Michael Bay or, you know, the algorithm that is John Watts doing something like that here in the US. Like, I just can't imagine that happening here in the US, which is, again...
Shafi hates John Watts, basically.
I always love it when you call them the algorithm, because you and me are completely on the same page there.
Have you seen No Way Home yet, Shafi? You haven't, have you?
I haven't, no. But you know what? I do like Cop Car, so... If John Watts, if you're listening to this podcast, you know,
No Way Home is the one time that Cop Car John Watts decided to show up in the MCU. I will say that.
Yeah. One thing, Andy, did you recognize any actors from this film?
No, sorry.
Oh, come on, man! You must have.
Days.
Come on,
Andy.
All right. Do you know what?
Favourite film?
Actually, was it the guy from The Wailing?
Yes.
Yeah. So. Forgive my pronunciation, Jun Kunimura.
It was Jun Kunimura.
He plays the kind of the general, like the head of the military, as in he always seems to be. I'm not sure what his official title, his character, but yeah, that's the Japanese man from The Wailing. Mike, have you seen The Wailing yet?
I have not. I'm waiting on listening. I know. No, it's on the list. I need to. Honestly, and I'm actually waiting on your episode because I haven't watched it yet. But I will say also, Jun Kunimura this is his second appearance in a Godzilla movie because he was also in Godzilla Final Wars.
Right.
Jun Kunimura is a major heavy hitter in Japanese. In fact, all the actors almost in this are people who have in some way, shape, or form been in other Godzilla movies. Right. Again, a little bit of a celebration, a little bit of a victory lap for Godzilla. So there's a whole lot. If you know Japanese cinema, there is a whole lot of real fucking famous faces in this movie.
Yeah, so the female character, Satomi Ishihara, she was in the first Attack on Titan film. Is that right?
Yep, the terrible live-action Attack on Titan film. Don't ever watch the live-action Attack on Titan films. If you like Attack on Titan, stick with the anime or the manga. Do not watch the live-action movies.
So Kyle, you said you don't get on with anime films at all, but I think I would recommend Attack on Titan.
If I may, our mate that we're talking about, this is the same guy that got his sort of head blown up by a toothpick and hard-boiled, isn't it? It's the same actor.
Oh shit! That's not him, is it?
It is him. I'm sure that's him.
Yeah,
we'll go to Mike here. I think I'm sure that's him.
It is him.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I can't believe that. I can't believe I don't recognize him. That's crazy. Yeah,
it is him, isn't it? So I think he's got one of the coolest IMDb lists ever, and he gets his head chopped off in Kill Bill as well, I believe. If I'm right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I certainly recognise him from that as well, and I was like thinking, "Wow,
mental trademark!
What a cool guy! Like, what a cool sort of understated career! Like, because he's one of the baddest dudes.
Yeah, hard-boiled tea house gunman, and then in
Uzi dude, isn't he? Isn't he carrying an Uzi?
Yeah,
yeah,
he fucking just nails Chow Yun-Fat's partner, doesn't he?
Kill Bill, Boss Tanaka. He's in both of them.
Yeah, so it's definitely him. Fucking hell. Because I was just thinking, wow, that is a cool... He just oozes coolness, and he was, man, just something about him.
I will always think of Jun Kunimura because he also is in a movie that I don't think is that great, but it's also super cool, called K-20 Legend of the Mask, with Takeshi Kaneshiro. He's one of those Japanese actors where he's literally the Japanese, like, that guy. You know, he shows up in so many Japanese movies, and you're like, oh, it's that guy. And he's so good in everything he ever does.
I guess our version of that guy is Keith David, right? He just kind of just appears in every film.
No, he's totally, that's actually a perfect analogy. He's the Japanese Keith David. That is
Japanese Keith David
analogy. Like, he just shows up and you're like, fuck yes. And then, you know, he may be in it for 5 minutes and he may be in it for like 50 minutes. But either way, you're just like, fuck.
20-minute fight scene with Roddy Roddy Piper. Let's go,
exactly,
man.
Yeah. Or a really sleazy guy from Requiem for a Dream.
God,
So anyone else have any more thoughts on Shin Godzilla?
This was one film where a nuclear bomb might go off at the end, and I was genuinely, fucking hell, are they going to loot? Are they going to nuke? I just didn't know. So the tension remained throughout the film, whereas most films with a nuclear bomb, the tension isn't really there. So I absolutely adored this film right up until the final minutes. Sorry, that's all I have to say. But it's cool.
No.
Yeah. I think you're going to burst into tears, though.
Well, no, it's like, how often do you watch a film with a nuclear bomb and you're not sure that it might fucking go off, man? They might just have to do it. If that freezing process doesn't work, they've got no choice. It's fucking crazy.
Independence Day.
Yeah, I mean, you could totally see a Doctor Strangelove ending here, right? Like the way the movie is. Like, there's really Anno sets this up so well that, like, yeah, fuck, they just got to nuke Japan. Yeah, I'm with you, Dave. I get what you're saying.
Thanks. Yeah,
but I mean, that's the thing. That's the great thing about this film. It makes you think of so many other films. So the film you just mentioned, it made me think about what's the In the Loop as well. It made me think of that
I got Thick of It vibes.
The Thick of It vibes as well.
Oh gosh, yeah.
As I said, Zodiac,
and Don't Look Up as well. I got kind of vibes from. Don't Look Up is very much kind of obvious comedy. This is not comedy as obvious as such.
And to be more on the level, it actually made me want to watch Cloverfield again. I know, really watching it on the level, but I really fancy watching Cloverfield again.
Camcorder footage and stuff, man.
I'm quite a fan of Cloverfield. I know it's similar and it's very similar and it's very different at the same time, but it kind of made me think, oh gosh, I haven't seen Cloverfield for a few years. I might stick that on.
And you can rest assured it's not Matt Reeves' worst movie. So I'm out.
Oh dear. I'm going to put you on mute, Mike. Okay, so should we just go to one-word reviews then? Or Mike, do you have anything further you want to say about Shin Godzilla?
No, I really was nervous coming into this episode because I know Shin Godzilla's...
Not as nervous as Shafi, man. Shafi was like, been on the toilet all day.
It's kind of kooky and weird, but the reaction to it has... My tummy is filled with joy by the reaction to this movie. So, no, this movie fucking rules. You guys all agree that it fucking rules, and everybody should just watch it. And that's honestly the best I could ask for. Like, awesome, I have nothing else to add on it.
Nice. No, thank you very much, Mike, for bringing it into our world. And I think I've found a new favorite film. So there you go. So should we go to one-word reviews then?
It's the one-word review. The one-word review. The one-word review from us to you.
Except for Carl, who says, "Oh, that's fucking quality."
Cool. All right. So let's start with.
It's a shock, and I'm trying to think of it, but yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so
I reckon on the 25th episode, I'll remember.
Kyle, what's your one-word review?
Jobsworths.
Nice. Andy, what's your one-word review?
I'm going to go for powerful.
Powerful. Dave, because you prepared this one word.
It's the greatest monster movie I've ever seen.
Dave, because you prepared this one word, what is the special word you've got for the one-word review?
I forgot to mention this film reminds me a bit of Brazil, the film Brazil.
Thanks for clarifying
one-word
the
review.
point.
Dave,
this film reminds me of France.
Really helpful.
What are you saying, mate?
I remember thinking I was quite clever. Maybe I'm not, and then I forgot to mention it. So I'm just going to bring that up now in the one-word review.
Smartest.
It reminds me a bit of if any of you have ever seen Brazil. I think it's 1985. This film is a bit similar.
So that's why you're saying. So your one-word review is Brazil. Is that right?
Yeah.
Every time we ask you for a one-word fucking review, we get a paragraph.
No, but I had to explain it.
Every fucking episode we do takes 20 fucking minutes for your one-word review.
So my one-word review is Brazil, 1985.
Nice.
You don't have to say 1985, mate. It's fine. Okay, and And Mike, what is your one-word review?
I gotta go with Anno-esque.
Nice.
The most fucking Hideaki Anno-esque shit ever.
Nice, great.
That's the best one-word review we've ever had.
I know, yeah. So,
Shafi, no. What about you?
Oh, God.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Panic. That's my one-word review.
Lovely, yeah.
Okay, nice. All right. Okay, cool. So, Mike, before you go, do you mind if I've got just a few questions for you? Can we go through those if that's all right? Just as like a quick fire round?
Absolutely. Fire away. Ask me the questions you want to ask.
Awesome. Okay, great. So, Mike, what is the first ever film you remember watching?
Star Wars. Episode 4, A New Hope. But Star Wars at the drive-thru in the backseat of my parents' car. Maybe I was born in 76, so this would have been maybe 77, 78, somewhere around there.
Wow.
You can remember it. Wow.
Yeah, my earliest memory is this memory. This is why I'm a movie nerd. My earliest memory is seeing Star Wars at the drive-in.
Oh, so awesome.
Yeah.
Lindsay chose that as well, didn't she? It's her first film.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah. She watched it at home, but it's, that's one of her first films. Wow, cool. Mike, name a film that made you cry.
Many, because I'm a bit of a crier. Most recently, actually, The Atom Project made me bawl. But the one that I always think of that's guaranteed to make me cry is Warrior, 2011's Warrior.
Great film, man.
That last fight when the Nationals About Today kicks in, I'm guaranteed to just bawl like a 4-year-old schoolgirl.
I cry then the best of the best. Always. Can't, honestly. Not even joking.
Best of the best. Also, when fucking Eric Roberts is like, pop it, Tommy. Pop it. Like, oh my God, that shit is amazing.
Honestly, I'm not joking. I will always cry watching Best of the Best. Mate.
I'm not judging you because I do the same. Yeah.
You'd think Eric Roberts cries enough for all of us, but no, I've got some tears as well.
So I guess the secret to unlock your audience crying is have a character called Tommy.
In a fight, in a like round robin fight scene. Like, yep.
Yeah. Name a film that genuinely scares you.
Karen Kusama's The Invitation.
I fucking love that film.
Scare is maybe not the right word, but it is so unbelievably uncomfortable and unsettling and like miserable to watch, but I love it so much because of that. And there's very few movies that do that. Like, I cannot think of another movie that makes me as uncomfortable watching it as The Invitation does. That movie is fucking brilliant.
You guys might relate to this, is that when you watch a film and you want to tell someone about it. And I remember watching The Invitation and then the next morning talking to Liza about it and then just kind of describing like everything from like beginning to end. And that's exactly sort of, that's what like a film like The Invitation does. You just want everyone to watch it, but you want to sort of just describe every moment, that. Mate,
I did that to my dad with Ghostbusters 2 in like 1989 or whatever it was.
That Where's Troy scene in The Invitation, you're literally like, your hair stand on end.
Where's Chow?
Yeah. I think his name's Troy. Yeah.
Is it Troy? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
What makes it so great is not a one of us hasn't gone to a dinner party that's just awkward as shit and don't want to be there. And that movie like trades on that and then just amplifies it and amplifies it and amplifies it. And it's, oh my God, it's a brilliant film.
Great show. I need to watch that. I need to watch that again. I've only seen that once and that really is an incredible film. What a film. Andy, Kyle, watch that film.
Yeah, it's brilliant. What's the film you've seen the most amount of times?
So, obvious answer is Star Wars, but I'm also going to shout out the 1993 rollerblading epic Airborne, because I that is literally up there with Star Wars, because the summer between 94 and 95, the summer between my high school graduation and college, it was on the Disney Channel here, and I watched it every goddamn day, and it is an amazing movie that I will actually, as an action nerd, I will go to bat for the editing in that movie like nobody. That movie is perfectly edited. So I'd say it's Star Wars, but I want to talk. I would just want to shout out Airborne because it's fucking beautiful.
I've never heard of that, man, honestly.
It's a, it came out, it's a rad thrashing. You got all those extreme sports movies. Airborne's the rollerblading version. And it's one of the first Jack Black movies. It's got Seth Green from Buffy in it. But there's a race at the end that is just one of the most well-edited, well-paced final races I've ever seen in a movie. So if you guys haven't seen it, try and track it down and check it out. And I, like I said, every day for a summer I fucking watch it. I've probably seen that movie 75 times at this point. So.
I think I remember seeing that as a kid. I think so. Is there like a shot? All I remember out this film is there's a shot of a line of roller skaters, and they're just basically, you see them do that for quite a long time.
There's more than one shot of that in the movie. So yeah, I
remember that. Yeah, great, excellent. What's a film that you used to like but now dislike?
Joel Schumacher's The Time to Kill, because I saw it before I went to law school, and then I saw it after I went to law school, and now I hate that fucking movie. So it seemed so good when I saw it, and then I went to law school, and I was like, oh no, this is a giant steaming piece of shit.
So is it just that you watch it thinking this would never happen, that would never happen?
Yeah, I mean, what I really realized, and I actually did an episode on the Dana Bunkler show a few years ago where I did a deep dive on breaking down all the things wrong with that movie. And a lot of it is just, it's not. Not only is it not that would never happen, but it's so fundamentally bad that it just, McConaughey's great. And obviously it's Samuel L. Jackson going, yes, they deserve to die and I hope they burn in hell is amazing. Yeah. But, no,
it's got a good impression.
I hate that movie. Contrast that to My Cousin Vinny, which is the best legal movie ever made.
Yeah, loads of people say that it's the most accurate.
You literally watch it in law school. They show you clips from that movie in law school to teach you how to be a lawyer. It's so good.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah, when they're doing the car through the window, and it's really detailed, isn't it? Yeah, I'm just having flashbacks. Sorry. The guy didn't have glasses on, and what a car would look like through the different window and stuff. God, yeah.
Yes. And the tires, and it's literally, that's what I do for a living. That movie nails it. It's perfect.
Nice. Great. So what's a film that you used to dislike and now you like?
So I am, if anybody followed me last Saturday as of the time we're recording, you would know I did This Movie Fest where I tweet incessantly.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Every podcast, everything I'm doing is because of This Movie. And a few years ago, one of the movies we watched was Avatar. And that was a movie that oh my God, I hated that movie. And you know what? No, I fucking love Avatar. I love Avatar.
Right.
I am all in on Avatar, Avatar 2 through 4, whatever they're doing. Inject that shit into my veins. I am all about it. So I did not enjoy it when I first saw it. And now I am not a grumpy, crotchety, angry old man. I am just give me the blue people, flying the dragons. I'm all about it. I love that movie now, even though I did not like it at all when I first saw it.
So is that because of the experience watching that film, or is it just got to do with you now see things in that film that you didn't see before?
It was the experience watching it with everybody, but it's also, as I'm older, The Adam Project is a perfect example of this too. I'm old, I'm older than all of you. I'm an old man, and I've also had a really rough last year. And I am just becoming more enamored with movies that are purely competent, purely interested in sticking the landing and not necessarily trying to be clever or creative and just being you know what we're going to do? We're going to make... Perfect example is, you guys know the band Fountains of Wayne. They did the theme song to, one of the writers made the theme song to That Thing You Do. They did the music.
Yeah,
he
died, didn't he? He died recently.
Yeah, he did.
COVID,
he did. They're like the epitome of pop music perfection. They're not genre changing. They're not anything, but you know what they are? They're really fucking good at what they do. And James Cameron is really fucking good at what he does. And Avatar, for me, and I'm just finding myself appreciating that. Like the idea of like sort of competency porn, like just a director who can just make a movie really well. Spielberg, the big one, like I mentioned, the Adam Project, Sean Levy. He's never going to change the genre, but you know what he is? He's really good at what he does. And so that's what it is. The last time I really watched Avatar and came around on it, I'm like, yeah, I've seen this movie 1,000 times. It's Dances with Wolves. It's Fern Gully. But it looks beautiful. It's got Zoe Saldana. It's got Stephen Lang. I mean, it looks great. It's entertaining. Man, that shit's hard to pull off. And I've stopped being bitchy about those kind of movies if they don't live up to what I want. If I'm entertained, I'm entertained. And Avatar is that. I love that movie now. And I hated that movie when it came out. I hated it. I've done a complete 180 on it.
Man, Stephen Lang should have been Cable, shouldn't he?
Would have been amazing Cable. Amazing Cable.
But, I mean, I guess what you're describing feels like your mindset in just watching films generally, because you champion DTV films, you can appreciate it for what it is. You know, DTV, you probably watch a film and go, okay, I can see there are budget limitations. I can see that it's not going to win any awards in its kind of writing or whatever, but it does what it does on the tin, I guess.
I think did you tweet, Mike, or it might have been Twitter on an Action for Everyone episode where he said, never shit on the little guy, but yeah, shit hard on the big guy.
Yeah, that was my response on not liking No Time to Die, which I know you all disagree with me on. But my point was ultimately that, yeah, Bond can take it, right? Like, Bond can take me unloaded.
Yeah.
But some movie that costs $2 million to make, because right before I'd watched No Time to Die, I'd watched this movie out of Puerto Rico called The Witness, and it's billed as the first Puerto Rican martial arts movie. And look, it's amateur as hell. And it was probably made for, I don't know, $15,000. Wow. I'm going to go lighter. Degree of difficulty matters. I'm going to go lighter on the $15,000 Puerto Rican martial arts movie than I am the $200 million James Bond movie. Although I will say after a certain recent movie, I am lighter on No Time to Die.
Oh, really? Wow.
Wow. 175 million went to Daniel Craig, though, so it was quite a cheap budget after that.
Well, that's actually, I love that you brought that up, Dave. We actually just talked about that on this week's Action for Everyone of the opening. If you guys haven't seen JCVD, there's a whole opening, like a oneer.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But then Van Damme's talking to his agent and he goes, there's a $5 million budget. You're giving me 3. The producer's taking 1. How much fucking money is there for the actual movie? And, when you're dealing with DTV, that's a real thing, right? Like, you can hear a DTV movie has a $10 million budget. It fucking doesn't. It's got like a $2 million budget because the producers and the stars are taking all of that off the top.
And viewers, if you've never seen a Jean-Claude Van Damme film before and you think, well, Jean-Claude Van Damme is not going to make a film that I'm going to like, watch JCVD, because that's the one film that crosses all genres and is just it's incredible, that film.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful. Yeah.
I think The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is kind of similar ilk, isn't it? When we eventually get to see it.
Yeah.
And Willy's Wonderland as well. We're trying to get that into profit one day, so everyone needs to watch Willy's Wonderland.
What did we work out it made? Like £84 or something?
Yeah, about just £5 in a balloon. Yeah. Okay, Mike, what is the sexiest film?
So, of all the questions you sent me, this is the one I really wrestled with because people who follow me on Twitter know I am a big fan of like classic 70s porn. And I didn't really want to go with that.
You can if you want. We're not going to judge you.
But I dialed the Wayback Machine Sherman to the movie that for me was like most influential as far as like, boobs. And I went with Risky Business. Risky Business. Yes. Rebecca De Mornay in Risky Business. You got the opening scene where she's on the stairs, and then you got the train scene later. That movie is like sexy incarnate. And also hilarious, and also the birth of a movie star in Tom Cruise. Yeah. I don't know how you get sexier than Risky Business.
It's funny because when we asked Lindsay that, she didn't mention 1970s porn.
But she wanted to.
Damn it. Yeah. I'm literally doing an episode with her next week on Wild Things and Knock Docs. So obviously Lindsay's horny. So like there's no question we can talk about
okay. I'm right.
Mike, was Knock Knock your choice?
No, she actually, so we're also doing it with our friend Carmelita Valdez McCoy, and Lindsay threw it out. And I was like, yeah, you need Carmelita on this. And then Carmelita was like, well, only if Mike joins us. And I was like, well, fuck. Okay, so I'm going to be the, like, cishet dude. The thirsty cishet dude on this. And that's why it was okay to do it, because I'm like, I've got two other people who are not, hopefully I won't just come across as, like, just feeding off Paul Dano, in this, like, being like,
I love Knock Knock. I think it's great. I loved it. It's just so unique. I loved it.
There you go. Well, wait for your invitation, Dave, for that episode then. Mike, what is objectively the best film ever made?
So my initial inclination was Casablanca, because I think that is the greatest written movie of all time. I think that's the best screenplay ever. But then I took a step back and thought about it and realized if I'm taking all aspects together, it's The Seven Samurai. And in my mind, it's it's The Seven Samurai. Everything that I love about movies, my podcasts, the movies I love, all of that shit, it's because of The Seven Samurai.
Yeah, that's, I guess it's one of the greatest action films ever made, right? It's just
it's the grandfather. I mean, every action movie we love, its DNA can be it is the tree of life for action cinema. Like, it's all the branches all trace back to The Seven Samurai. So yeah, it's it. That's the one for me.
Nice, great. Okay, what is the funniest film?
I couldn't pick one. I have to pick two. It's His Girl Friday and Young Frankenstein. Because they're both different enough, but they're both, to me, the funniest movies ever made for different reasons. But it's those two. It's those two. Every other comedy that I like has its DNA again in those two movies. So pick whichever one you want, but it's His Girl Friday and Young Frankenstein. Those are the best comedies. Those are the funniest movies ever made in my mind.
Wow. And Lindsay chose that as well, Young Frankenstein.
Yeah. Lindsay chose that as well, yeah.
Wow.
Mike, imagine you're in heaven and every person in heaven has their own day to screen a film. Today is your day. What film are you going to choose?
Surprising nobody, because the movie is Heaven. I'm screening Spider-Man 2 because it's the most perfect, wonderful movie that's ever been made, and it'll never get better. And if you're in heaven, you want to watch Spider-Man 2. So
exactly. Watching Spider-Man 2 is bringing you to heaven anyway. So
exactly. Exactly. So
excellent.
What I say about your choice, Mike? I say your choice is brilliant but lazy. I'm joking. That's great film. Great film.
Well done, Kyle. Well done.
It's that time of the show where I make things awkward for you, and I'm going to ask you to choose between two films. So, what's your choice between Ford versus Ferrari or Blood Simple?
That's a random choice, but it's blood simple. Come on, it's fucking blood simple.
Maybe one day we'll get a guest that actually chooses Ford versus Ferrari.
This is so outrageous. It's even more annoying because everybody who knows what they're talking about and is very smart is choosing the other films. I'm like, oh no.
Look, I love Ford versus Ferrari. I love James Mangold, but it's fucking blood simple. Like that's like you gotta do like Ford versus Ferrari and like Driven or something like that, right? Like, although in fairness, I might actually pick Driven. It's blood simple. But I do like Ford versus Ferrari. I'm not shitting on that movie at all.
Maybe we should go next time. We should say Ninja 2 or Mortal Kombat.
Oh God!
Oh, Ninja 2, come on.
No.
Come on.
I think even
I know you already laid out that you don't love Ninja 2, but fucking come on.
I saw the trailer and thought it was going to be the best movie ever.
Well, okay, hold on. 2021 Mortal Kombat or 1995 Mortal Kombat? If it's 95 Mortal Kombat versus Ninja 2, I got some struggles. I got some struggles.
Yeah, I really like that film. Yeah, I really like it.
I'll tell you how bad a film critic I am. I thought Kylie Minogue was in the 95 version. So.
Nice. Mike, you have been fucking brilliant. Please, could you come back on our show?
Man, this has been really fun.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
Boys, I'll be back whenever you want me to. This was a delight. I had so much fun tonight.
Awesome. Great. That's great. That's great. Okay, nice one. All right. So thank you so much, Mike, and thanks for taking your time to come on the show. Right, we're going to go for our next choice. So the next episode, this choice is Kyle's. So Kyle, what is your choice of the next episode?
Well, I think as we've got a guest, I will get him to announce it, and I'm going to just give some clues, and I'm pretty sure we'll get it straight away. The year is 1962. It's the last night of school before you start college. Wolfman Jack is on the radio. You're driving around California. You know, is it? Come on.
Yeah, it's American Graffiti.
American Graffiti.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great choice. That's got one of the best soundtracks ever.
Man, I won't talk about it, but yeah, we'll talk about it on the pod. Yeah.
So
awesome.
Have you
expensive fucking soundtrack? I guess
you guys are gonna have so much fucking fun talking about that movie. Like, oh my god, you guys are gonna have so much fun.
I assume you guys have not seen it then.
No,
I've seen it. Yeah.
Shafi. Yeah.
The caveat.
Shafi told me the rule is you guys can't have seen it, but we just ignore Shafi, right? He's seen everything, so
Exactly.
Like everyone in life, it's fine. Don't worry. So, just to let the viewers know that we're going to go on a bit of a hiatus. We've basically been recording weekly for like the past 3 or 4 weeks now. So we're probably just going to take a few weeks break until we reconvene for Kyle's choice. Mike, tell the viewers how to get in touch with you.
You can follow me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Hibachi Justice. You can follow Action for Everyone on Twitter at A4E Podcast, or you can follow Liam at Liam Odin on Twitter, or Vice at Vice Victus on Twitter. And you can hear the show at whatever your podcast app of choice is, we're on it. So It's not hard to find us. So check us out.
Brilliant. Cheers, mate. I follow like you guys on Twitter now, and some of the stuff you come out with is like, just the knowledge is ridiculous. And like some of the things you come up with, like, this is the last episode about Batman. I was like, who in the world comes up with the fact that Bruce Wayne is an incel? It's like brilliant, honestly.
Yeah, we thought Shafi was next level, but wow, there's a fair few levels above Shafi.
Vice is the secret weapon to the show. He is on a level of thinking about stuff that none of us will ever be. He's our secret weapon.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So, Kyle, do you want to send us home?
Yes, get in touch with us. Please send any questions, comments, praise, hate mail, or one-word reviews to the Popcorn Postbag at whodroppedthepopcorn@gmail.com. Or like, follow, harass us on Twitter at whopopcorn, or on Instagram at whodroppedthepopcorn. You can also leave a review on your podcast app, and please remember to like and subscribe. You've been listening to Who Dropped the Popcorn. Really appreciate it. See you soon.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Cheers. Bye.